Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Ryan Swanstrom Show. I am Ryan, and I'm trying to get my date set up right here. It is November 13th here. November 13th, Monday. Anyhow, thanks for being here, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Ryan. The question of the day today is, do you attend virtual conferences? And we will get to that question just a little bit more later on in the show. First of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for stopping by. I am actually glad that I finally got out here. It's 5 o'clock Central Time here. I was intending to do the show at about 5:30 or at about 8:30 this morning, but life happened and the show did not occur this morning. So I'm trying to get it in later today. And this also gives me a pretty good opportunity to test and see if people watch the show or are interested in it later on in the day. So thank you for stopping. Here's what I talk about. I do a little bit of live coding on here, talk about some tech things. Last week, I deployed a React.js website to 3 different hosting platforms. Today, I'm going to try and deploy it to a 4th hosting platform. I'm going to try to deploy a React.js website to Azure Static Web Apps today, and we're going to see how that works. I have a feeling it'll go pretty smooth, but I've never done it before. So we're just going to try it out and see how quick and easy that is. Also, I'll give you an update on the interviews I've got going on this week and briefly some news. But the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get this question of the day. Do you attend virtual conferences? It ties in a little bit with the news here. It also ties in with some of the other discussions we've been having on Threads. So let me go out here and throw a question out into this. So I'm just going to throw out this question of the day. Do you attend virtual conferences? I'm not even going to leave this as a poll or anything like that. I'm just going to leave this as a straight up question of the day, post it out to Threads, and then I'm going to post it out to LinkedIn as well, because that is where I tend to share my questions of the day, and where most of my posts go. So I have been playing around with different social networks recently, and the 2 that I think I decided I want to focus on are LinkedIn and Threads. And I would say Threads is probably my predominant social platform. But I'm going to close that down. So I shared that news out there. For me, I would say I have attended some virtual conferences, but not a ton of them. But I was just kind of curious what other people think about virtual conferences. The next thing that I wanted to get into was the news of the week. So this week is Microsoft Ignite, which is one of Microsoft's big conferences. So expect a lot of announcements to come out of the Microsoft Azure world this year during the next, 4 or 5 days. I think the conference officially starts on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. I'm guessing we'll see a ton of big announcements on all sorts of Azure related news. Also, Live 360, another, I believe this one's not sponsored or not put on by Microsoft, but it's happening earlier in the week. And so probably you might see some things about that as well. So those, I guess, are the big tech news ideas that are happening this week. I have 2 interviews occurring on Threads this week. So on Tuesday, tomorrow morning, I will kick off the interview with, "Hi, this is Panda, a software engineer, mother, and piano player." So that'll be kind of an interesting interview to talk through some of those things and how they relate and how they are connected, whether or not they're connected. So that'll be fun on Thursday. Lucid Voyager will be the uh, interview person that I'm interviewing on Thursday. So that will be fun as well. He is a tech entrepreneur, and those interviews take place on Threads. Find me on Threads at ryan.swanstrom. Checking my notes here. Also, we are getting dangerously close to the Cyber Monday, Black Friday holiday shopping experience, and the Logitech MX Mechanical Mini. I got a new one of these with the clicky version of the keys. Well, in case you're interested, let me pull it out so you can listen to the keys. Kind of nice. Kind of nice. Here, I have the larger version of the MX Mechanical. This is the tactile one. So it is significantly less noisy than the clicky one. So if you're going for the noisy, the MX Mechanical Clicky right here. I haven't actually set this up and used it with my computer yet, but I have opened the box that it was in. So that is the MX Mechanical Mini with the clicky keys. Hopefully more to come about that, especially as Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals are coming up next week. Might have more to say about it for that. All right. Covered the question of the day. We covered the interviews. Let's check off some of these things. Ooh. Now is the part of the show. Let me see what we got going on here. How's the part of the show where I was going to share an update from last Thursday's interview. But also, want to comment, I'm still working on my No Shave November beard. So that's still coming along. Let me go back out. Where was I going to go? Oh, here is where I was going to go. Over to GitHub Code Spaces. And let me share out my screen. Go out to my website. Go out to my Threads dev interviews. And here's what I want to do. So after I do a Threads dev interview, let me just pause for a second. When I do a Threads dev interview, I will save screenshots of a lot of the questions and answers that occurred during the interview, and I oftentimes save out a transcript of the questions I ask and the text for the answers that the interviewee provides. I then take that material and I put it into a blog post. And I've now started putting a nice little header image on the top with the picture of the guest. Last Thursday, we had Eleanor Rose. It was jam packed with great quality information in that, tons of info there. But you can scroll down through it. I usually use a pull quote up here to pull out one of the interesting things that they said during the interview. Then you can scroll down and pretty much read most all of the interview that's out there. At the bottom of the interview, at the bottom of that blog post, I share out a slideshow of those screenshots that are available. I wanted a way to make these screenshots a little bit easier to read, and I wanted a way to share out the information from this interview to other social networking platforms. So I created a way to scrape my own blog post here and take this header image right here and make it the header image. Take all of the screenshots down here, take all those screenshots and put them on a orange template and create that into a PDF, take all those images, put them on an orange template, and save those all out as image files. And this is all done. I do this all over on GitHub code spaces. And I'm going to get that GitHub code spaces fired up right over there. And then I can run that and it will automatically generate a number of those image files for me and that PDF that I can then share out to LinkedIn. So here we have it. This is written in Python. And it really isn't all that complicated. We have 67 lines of code in there. So there's not a lot there. I can probably delete those previous files from the last interview that I did. I think those things are saved off elsewhere for me. But I just run this and it goes out and it looks to see if I have any blog posts from the last 24 hours. If those blog posts are fall into the category of threads. Let me see if I can remember this. Yes, threads dev interview feed. So if they're categorized as a threads dev interview, yeah, we can download those. So I'm just going to go run this. Run the debug Python file. It's going to run. You can see a little bit of output coming out on the bottom. You should over here on the left start seeing a bunch of images show up. This one, the interview with Eleanor Rose, had a number of images associated with it, 19 to be exact. So we're going to shift and copy, and then we're going to download all of that. I do realize there's more I could write on this. I could, and I think I will do this. I will connect this with some of the social networking sites and automatically post the PDF out to LinkedIn. As of yet, I can't automatically post things out to threads, but I do think that would be a beneficial thing to do if and when threads gets an API out there. So I have downloaded all those things. I can actually now close out of this GitHub code space because I don't need it really anymore. What I need to do now is I need to open up LinkedIn and go share out this PDF that I just created. So let's add a document. The reason I chose a PDF is because I think it shares a little bit better on LinkedIn when you want to scroll through it. So now you're getting to see a little bit about what it looks like. And so there you have it. There's the PDF that will get shared out to LinkedIn. Looks like that. Pretty easy for users to scroll through. I like this because it still gives you the information from the interview, but it keeps it in a text-based format. Well, an image format that you can just easily read. And what are we going to call this? What did I title this? Building a career in tech. Threads. If I could spell threads correctly. Threads dev interview. Create. All right. And I got to spell things correctly. Another great threads dev interview. This one covers a ton of material. Let me see if I can highlight a couple things that it talked about. Covers a ton of material. Covers, we're just going to scroll through this because I don't remember everything. We talked about transitioning your career into tech. being a PM, how to get a career, interviewing in tech. So let's just cover this. It covers getting into a tech career, interviewing. What else did we question here? Not that one. PM role. There was even more in this because there's 19 slides of content in here. Oh, previous roles, AI and GPTs. All cool stuff. Go browse through. Copy this in case I want to use this over on Threads for my description over there as well. And I'll give it a couple of hashtags maybe just to developer, PM. Actually, let's go product manager, because that's what PM referred to in this case of the interview. So there we have that. Let me hit that post button and it should share out to LinkedIn. So that's out on LinkedIn. Now let me try to see if I can go out to Threads. And here's where things get kind of tricky. This will not go quickly on Threads. I can do this on Threads, I guess. But you kind of got to share these one picture at a time, because otherwise it does not preserve the order. And this is going to take us a while. Let me see if I can get to number 1. This is tedious. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. I don't know that I'll get the number 9th one. I guess we maybe get 10 total. What is my last one here? PM and compensation partner. We're going to add a second thread. All right, we added that one. So let's go back to get number 10. Let's add number 10. Scroll down and add number 11. 12. Counting out for you. 13. Let's add number 14. I don't know if we're going to get this in 2 or 3 of these. 15. Let's go ahead, number 16. 17. 18. 19. Look at that. So that is a lot of Threads dev interview information that we're going to share out to Threads, and we will tag Eleanor Rose. I'll break this out a little bit easier to read here. So we're going to call this Threads Dev Interview Summary with Eleanor Rose. So people can take a look. Tons of info here. Please scroll through. There we go. Then I can post that out to Threads as well. So that's the process that I have to go through after I create the Threads dev interviews and after I create a blog post. I still have to go through that to get them posted out to the social networks, but I should work on adding a little bit more to that script so that I can automatically take that PDF file and post it out to LinkedIn as well, because LinkedIn has an API for that. And I think I have access to be able to do that. So I need to look into how I'm going to do that. Next, I was going to go to Microsoft Azure. And I was going to see what kind of effort, what level of effort is required to deploy a React.js website onto Azure Static Web Apps. Let's give that a try. Bring this over here. There is Azure. We're going to create a resource. We're going to go, well, there's web app. Let's go with static web app. Static web app. Close this down. Azure Static Web App. We're going to go down to create Azure Static Web App. And I believe the subscription is disabled. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. I think I am in the wrong place. Let's sign in with a different account. Hold on a second. Let me close that down. So hang with me, folks. Nice thing is I thought I did this ahead of time. And I thought things were just going to go so smoothly. But I'm getting my security code now. We're going to make this happen. And now I'm logged back in, so I can bring this back up. I can even do that, put myself down in the bottom corner. Can I move myself around? I don't think so. I actually kind of like it this way a little bit better. So now that we are within Azure, logged into the Azure portal here, I'm going to go create a new resource, and we're going to type in static web apps again. Static web app shows up. Close out of this. Go down here to create static web app. Hopefully, we're going to be able to put this into a new resource group. Create a new resource group. We're going to call this static web apps. We'll go with that. I think it's going to like that for us. LSC, pay as you go. We'll keep it at that subscription for myself. Azure Static Web App details. enter a name for your static web app. We're going to call this React. No, what do we call this? News React JS. It likes that. It's going to let us go with that. Central US, unless we can do a North Central. Guess we can't. So we'll go Central US. I'm going to sign in and connect to my GitHub account because hopefully that will easily let us deploy things right out of my GitHub account. So let's go out to the repositories. Azure Static Web Apps by Azure App Service wants access to your Ryan Swanstrom account. Authorize Azure Static Web Apps. So I'm going to say authorize that. Now it needs an authentication code. I think I logged in. There we go. So now we're connected. I think I can choose an organization, which is just my name, Ryan. And it's going to allow me to choose a bunch of different web apps that are available. I think this one is called Codespaces React, which is there. And the branch is main and build details. Enter values to create a GitHub Actions workflow file for build and release. You can modify the workflow file later in your GitHub repository. I'm not even sure I know what this is. I think I can probably just leave this the way it is. I don't know if I have an API location in here. We will see. We're going to see what happens when I try to do this. Last week when I did this, I deployed to Kinsta, Render, and Vercel, all very, very simple. I don't think this one is very complicated either. File with GitHub Actions workflow configuration. I have never used the GitHub Actions workflow, so we're just going to see what happens when I try to create this. I don't know if it's going to make me set an API location. So I'm going to review and create this. And we're going to see what happens when I hit the create button. Deployment is in progress. We're going to give this a try. See how long it takes to create something. It already told me my deployment is complete. That was very fast. Let's go to the resource out there. Resource group. It says it's still waiting for deployment down here. So we're going to wait for that in a bit. It gives me a domain URL, which is right here. I click on that. Your Azure Static Web App is live and waiting for your content. Okay. So we are going to go back here and it says it's still waiting for deployment, but I don't know if I need to do that deployment here. I don't know. I haven't done this on Azure Static Web Apps before, so I have a feeling I am missing some deployment steps here. And I don't even know if I know how to set those up. It says click here to check the status of your Azure Web App runs. I guess it is still running this, so it maybe automatically set this up for me. I'm hoping it did. It tells me it's done now. I want to click on this to tell me what actually did it. Built and deployed the job. It told me it took 1 minute 31 seconds to do that. So maybe I should go back. That actually takes me to GitHub, surprisingly. Interesting there. So now if I visit my site, it's available. So even on Azure, static web apps, deploying a React.js website, as far as I can tell, is very simple on just about any host that you're using. The next thing I want to do is I want to know if I can set up a custom domain name here. So let's see if we can add a new custom domain. Add a custom domain on another DNS. So we're going to call this news-azure.ryanswanstrom.com. Go to next. It's probably going to walk me through all the stuff I need to do this. Validate domain ownership. So I know how to do this because I had to do this last week for a number of my other sites. Let's take a look. Domains that are out here. And we should have the Ryan Swanstrom domain somewhere down here. We're getting there. I'm going to grab a drink while this updates. Okay. So let's click into Ryan Swanstrom. We're going to go into DNS records. And according to what it wanted us to do, it said news-azure. It's a CNAME. So we're going to manage. We're going to add a new CNAME. Not an A name, a CNAME. News-azure. And we're going to have it point to Witty Field, blah, 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 at Azure staticapps.net. Add that DNS record. The DNS record has been added. So I added all that. Come back over here. Let's hit. I don't see a status there. Let's hit add. It's adding that. We're going to see how quickly that comes back with a status. Anyhow, while that happens, thanks for tuning in. Everybody, thanks for being here. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday afternoon. It's kind of near end of the day, kind of almost at quitting time. So hopefully you could find a chance to stop by. I'm quick checking on my phone to see if anything's happened. It looks like the custom domain got validated, so let's close out on that. Now I have news-azure.ryanswanstrom.com. Try this out. News.azure. That was pretty fast. That was very fast. I would say I think render took the longest. It took about an hour and a half because on render it had to create an SSL cert for me, and that process took a little while. Kinsta was very quick. Vercel was very quick. I think maybe Azure was the quickest of all these. But the last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go out to Codespaces again, GitHub Codespaces, and go out to Codespaces React. We're going to open this one up, and I wanted to add another link on the bottom that can take us to Azure Static Web Apps for our website, because you scroll down to the bottom, it just says, see this same app on Vercel rendered Kinsta. I was going to add one more spot in there so that you could also see it on Azure. And it's going to be a pretty simple ad here. Down here. And hopefully, if all works, it will auto deploy all of those places. Oh, there we have it. Yes. So at the bottom, it says see this app on Vercel, Render, Kinsta, or Azure. So there we have it. Now I can just go out here and commit and push these. Added a link to Azure. And I'm going to commit and push. Actually, let me hold on a second. I had this good idea the other day. I need to put hosting app in the title. So I want to say a simple React site built by blah, 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 hosted on unknown because it doesn't really know here on the local host. But now I can say added a link to Azure and I'm going to commit and push this. Hit yes. Uh-oh. I got to sync changes. So let's do a pull. What happens if I just do a simple pull? Doesn't like that. Let's do a pull rebase. And now I should be able to added a link to Azure. And I can push that out. So now once I push that out there, if everything has been done correctly, the Kinsta, the Render, the Vercel, and the Azure sites will all update hopefully in the next 2 to 3 minutes, and we will try to verify that. Close down my DNS records and close down some things. So this is our site out on Azure. I do realize I need to do some work on the UI because it's not a very fancy site. It needs some work, and I know that. But I just wanted to know if I could deploy things and how easy or difficult that would be. And if I go back out to my resources out here in Azure, I want to know if this is redeploying it. It tells us the status is uploading. Where do I go to see? Deployment history, GitHub Actions, added link to Azure, workflows run. What happens if I refresh the site? Oh, it tells me unknown because on Azure, so it pushed out our new code, but on Azure, I did not set up a environment variable. But what happens if I go to Vercel? Tells me this one's hosted on Vercel. Let's go out to render. Hosted on render, so that one's available. Kinsta. Well, Kinsta's having a little bit of trouble there. Let's go take a look at Kinsta. I guess if you're tuned in, you're getting to see a little bit of what it's like when you host all these web apps. Oh, Kinsta's up now. I guess we must have just hit it in the in between phase there. But this will actually give me a chance to go see the environment variable. This is what it's called, React App Hosting App. Now let's go back to a React site on Azure. Configuration. I got to see where I set these. Add an environment variable. Is that where they go? It's been a while since I've done this. I'm actually going to close this down. So I'm clicking around just to make sure I don't display anything. Looking around, I think that was the right place. I think what I've done is I think I'm just going to add a new application setting. I'm going to name it React App Hosting App, call it Azure, hit OK, and hit save. Successfully updated application settings. I don't know if that fires off a new build of my website. Refresh. Let's go out and see if. I don't think it does, but I maybe need to do another rebuild. How do I do that? Deployments, refresh. I don't know how to force it to do a refresh or a rebuild and redeploy. I probably need to come over here and fire off another Azure Static Web Apps. Guessing if I redeploy everything, it'll probably work. Let me just try that. What can I change out here? I'm going to take out one of those articles because I think they're too long. Okay, I have too many articles out here. Let's get rid of that one. And removed article, commit, and push. There we go. Now we are going to come back out here. Removed an article. You can already see GitHub. The GitHub workflow is already working. So is Kinsta, and so is Render, and so is Vercel. All those are going pretty quickly. I'm just impressed at how easy it is to set these up and how just so much of this process can be automated away for you. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't, I guess I'll have to figure out how to set up that environment variable at a later date. I'm going to go back out to Kinsta because this one's kind of cool. Kinsta tells me it's deployment in process. Tells me my domain list. Use the Kinsta. We're still deploying. We're here on GitHub. Still tells me that we're waiting on the deployment. So I'm just going to continue to wait right here. I'm going to grab a drink of water. And now it is green, telling me it has deployed. So let's go out here and let's refresh this. It still did not set the environment variable for me, so I'm going to have to look into how I do that on Azure Static Web Apps. But let's take a look. Vercel worked, render worked, Kinsta worked. Oh, Kinsta's not updated yet. It's now updated. And Azure is updated, but it doesn't have the environment variable on Azure. So that is my homework for now, is go figure out how I can set the environment variable. I am pretty sure I've done this before, but I think I'm just not remembering where I need to go to set that environment variable for myself here. I thought it was in configuration. All right. Anyhow, I think that's where I'm going to end the show for today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. And I will probably be live again on Wednesday. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day and goodbye.